Hey, house guests! Welcome to today's BB23 updates and spoilers. Happy Sunday! Welcome to the matinee show. Our house guests of the day are Holly Noel and Callie Foster. Thank you both so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. Just a reminder, these Sunday spoiler videos are usually around this time. They're earlier in the day because I'm going to go hang out with my grandma after. So we got to skedaddle here. But anyway, before we get going, I also want to thank all of our super chatters from yesterday because you guys are also a huge part of making this show possible. I feel like PBS right now. Jefferson Tucker, Nick Silverstein, Gail Murphy Comedy, Kevin Charles, Jody Cortez, AR Chan, 1785, Rob's Classic Commercials and Retro Stuff, Chris, Darby C, Gia R, Florida Nana, Lavanya, Heavy Metal 2000, and Sheena123. Thank you all so much. You guys are awesome. All right, so let's get started. We got some interesting stuff to talk about here. So when we left off yesterday, we've got Frenchie and Brittany on the block. So obviously, Frenchie is Kylan's target, and Frenchie has been saying if he wins the power veto, he's going to use it on Brittany. He's saying, I want to go home and see my kids. He also told a bunch of people about the slaughterhouse. He's blowing all that up. You know, he is flipping the Monopoly board over. I mean, I don't really blame him for blowing up the slaughterhouse because that thing was not built to last anyway. But, you know, if your alliance is going to turn on you like that, like, and of course, like he tried to turn on them first, but you know, it's over. It's done. It was bound to happen. So anyway, he's also trying to get Kylan to target Brent or Christian instead of him, but Kylan is not feeling that. All right. So then when the spoiler ended yesterday, the feeds were still down for the power veto competition. So Tiffany was the host. Amazing, wonderful, stunning. And the players were Kylan, Frenchie, Brittany, and then 3 extras, Alyssa, Derek X, and Claire. So if we just look at this lineup, everybody would leave the nominations the same, except for Frenchie and Brittany. All right. So the feed stayed down for like 4.5 hours because it was an individually timed competition. It was called Fun Tan Lotion. I don't know any other details about the competition. I'm not really sure what it entailed, but we'll see. We'll find out. And guess what? Derek X won the power veto. Dang! Okay, future veto king. He is now 2 for 2, and it turns out he beat Kylan by only 13 seconds to win that POV. Wow, that's crazy. But anyway, there's just something so poetic about Derek X winning the POV last week and Frenchie giving him like such a hard time. And now Frenchie's up on the block this week and Derek X won the POV again. And he's going to kind of like seal Frenchie's fate. Damn. All right. So Lil D and Kylan were chatting in the HOH room and Lil D is asking, am I going to have a target on my back now since I've won 2 vetoes? And Kylan says no. I feel like he will, though. I mean, maybe he's just trying to keep him calm, but I feel like that is going to maybe put a little target on your back. But Kylan asks him, what are you thinking? And Lil D's like, I'm not going to use it. Okay, that solves that. But anyway, Kylan is telling Lil D about Frenchie's pitch from earlier that morning, and Kylan saying, like, I love you, bro, but you're letting your desperation make you sloppy. Yikes. So he says that Frenchie is claiming that he was telling Lil D last week that he absolutely had to use the power veto on Kylan, but Kylan knows the truth. And Lil D confirms it again. He was like, yeah, Frenchie was telling me to use it on Alyssa. He wanted you to stay up on the block because he wanted you out of here. So then Kylan says that Frenchie said Brent, Whitney, and Christian are all running the show. They are the 3-headed snake. And Frenchie was saying they used me last week, and now they're going to do the same thing to you. They're going to use you, and then once you're not HOH anymore, they're done with you. So they agree Frenchie's falling apart at this point. He's got 1 foot out the door already. I mean, he's been a mess since he walked in, right? So Kyland also brings up this alliance that is kind of forming now. He asks Lil D, what do you think about working with Team Queens and Kings? This is something that they've been kicking around for like the last 2 days or whatever. So Lil D says, I'm good with it. But he is kind of nervous that Christian and Alyssa are going to like tell on him to Brent and Whitney, because Lil D is the only one from his team in that alliance. And he doesn't want to be in hot water with his team if they find out about it. And, you know, obviously Christian and Alyssa were working with Brent and Whitney in the slaughterhouse, so they're pretty close. So he's a little bit worried about that. But meanwhile, Frenchie and Brittany were chatting in the yacht club bedroom, and Brittany's like, you know, we did our best in the competition. We did what we could do. So they fist bump. Frenchie says he's really proud of them. So then Frenchie says he's going to be pissed if there's a battle back competition. He's already talking still like he's the one leaving this week, which like he probably is. But he's not even really trying at this point. I mean, he's putting in like minimal effort so far, but he's saying he just wants to go home. He doesn't want to have to stick around if there's a battle back competition. So they both know at this point, nominations are not going to change. They're both going to be up on the block on Thursday because Lil D is not going to use the POV on them. He is close with Kyland, and Kyland does not want to have to make another nomination. So Frenchie and Big D were sitting at the dining room table. Oh my God. Big D, I said this the other day, Big D has been very disappointing, and I just don't understand his like infatuation with Frenchie and this like blind loyalty. I guess love is blind, right? I don't know, but Big D is wearing his sunglasses all over the place. He's sad. You would think he's the one on the block and not Frenchie. It's insane. So Big D's asking, what are we going to do? What can we do from here? What's the move? So he says to Frenchie, I think this comes down to you working your magic. What magic? What? But he tells Frenchie, don't give up. Please don't give up. Okay. So then Tiffany and Azza had a game chat on the Sky Bridge, and I gotta tell you guys, I'm getting a little worried about Azza. I'm curious to see what her gameplay will be like once Frenchie is gone, but right now I'm a little bit worried for her. So Azza is telling Tiffany that Frenchie got used by Brent and Whitney last week, and now they're going to use Kyland too. I just feel like she's kind of been like brainwashed by Frenchie, but Azza's talking about Frenchie's plan and to get like Brent or Christian up on the block. And she's like, yeah, Frenchie told me that he hadn't prayed to God in years, and last week he was on a high, and now, you know, he's on the block, so he's been humbled, and he apologized to God, and he woke up this morning and asked God to give him a clear head, and then he came up with this plan. So Azza says, if this is God's plan, I think it could work. Azza, no! Stop it! So Azza says that Lil D should use the power veto on Brittany, not on Frenchie. Leave Frenchie up on the block, and then Kyland should put up Brent, and then they vote out Brent and keep the target on Frenchie moving forward. So Tiffany is just taking this all in. She's like, these are the things that you think, and I am nodding my head to them. But she's not like, yes, absolutely, we're doing this. No, Tiffany's not on board for this. I will say, I can see the merit in like keeping a big target like Frenchie around and taking out somebody who's more nuanced of a player, more skilled of a player like Brent. But I feel like when you've got somebody as chaotic as Frenchie, he's like a special case. He is a special case. I feel like you need to just take him out, you know? You got to get him out of there. So, meanwhile, Frenchie is starting his goodbye tour. He's talking to Brent in the yacht club bedroom, and Frenchie says there's game. and there's personal. And at the end of the day, we're people. And he says there isn't anything that I wouldn't do personally for any of you guys outside of this house. And Brent's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody feels the same way. You know, the game just gets out of hand sometimes. So they hug it out. Frenchie invites him to the farm. They're going to have fun outside of the house. So then he checks in with Xavier. And again, he's telling X, like, outside of the house, you got me for life. And Xavier's like, yeah, I'm just sick of seeing you sad. I want you to be happy. And Frenchie's like, oh, we're going to have fun. We're going to have fun until Thursday. Even as I'm walking out the door, like, it's going to be great. So Frenchie's just going around to everybody, having similar conversations. And he's also asking that they don't say anything mean about him in their goodbye messages because his kids are going to be watching. Come on, dude. You can't act the way that you acted and then be like, don't be mean in your goodbye messages. So he also congratulated Kyland on the checkmate, shook his hand, and he's telling people, I don't want to talk game anymore. I'm not talking any more game. I highly doubt that. We've got 5 days left until this eviction. And you're telling me that Frenchie is just going to roll over like this? I feel like he's setting up for some sort of like Dan's funeral situation. This guy's not done yet. But anyway, Frenchie and Derek F. chatting in the living room. And during this conversation, the feeds kept like switching back and forth. So it was like very frustrating. But anyway, I tried to piece together some main points here. So Frenchie was talking about how he really started the season off with a bang. And he gave us one of the most exciting first weeks ever. I have to admit, it was pretty wild. It was very entertaining. That is for sure. That being said, this is like one of the first times we've ever had live feeds for the first week. So like, who knows what the feeds have been like on other seasons for the first week. But yeah, I will say it was definitely entertaining. I got to give him that. But he says the thing that he is the most proud of in this whole experience is his final two with Derek F. Big D. Oh my God. This feels like pandering. So Big D says, don't start. Like, I just feel so defeated right now. Oh my God. Pull it together, Big D. So Big D says, I was not expecting to be in this house without you for the rest of the summer. You can go too if you want. The way you're acting right now, you can go too. So Big D says, I don't like what's happening. I feel like people are getting out of line. Getting out of line. Wow. Okay. So then Frenchie is like, yeah, it just sucks like to be leaving because like we read everyone like a book and we were completely accurate. Clearly you weren't. But he says, I think what really got me, honestly, was the paranoia votes. He's talking about the 2 rogue votes that he asked to happen. He asked Derek F. and Tiffany to do it because he wanted to try and put a target on Derek X so that Derek X would be a bigger target than him going into this week. But Frenchie says, it worked though. You know, it served its purpose. Did it? I mean, it definitely caused some paranoia. Definitely broke up the slaughterhouse, which I don't think is what Frenchie was intending on happening. But it did, yes, cause paranoia. But also, I don't see Derek X on the block this week. I don't see anyone really blaming him for the votes. I think everybody feels that you're responsible for it. So I don't know if I would call that a success. Just saying. It's a little bit George Bush standing in front of the mission accomplished sign. But Big D says, I got to figure out how I'm going to keep running this shit without ending up on the block. What is he running? The couch bed in the yacht club? Is he running some sort of a fantasy league we don't know about? Is he running a Sims game? I don't know, but he is not running this game. So he says, I've been trying to put the scenarios together and I don't see it. I don't see how I can do it. So Frenchie's like, I don't think they're coming after you. Honestly, like a lot of times I forget that he's even playing Derek F because he's usually just like asleep. But anyway, Frenchie says once everybody finds out that the slaughterhouse has been blown up, they're all going to start turning on each other. So Big D's like, well, what should I do? And Frenchie tells him, just lay low. You know, if you do that, you're going to go a long way. I could see Derek F coasting for a long time for sure because he's just kind of like a non-factor right now. But a little later, Tiffany and Xavier were chatting in the HOH bathroom. They're talking about how Frenchie is just trying to give the fans a show. That's why his game was a freaking mess because he was focusing more on gaining the favor of BB Twitter. So Tiffany mentions how Frenchie said the ratings are going to drop if he leaves. She says he thinks that he makes this house. He thinks that he makes this show. And she says, listen, Frenchie, you don't make this shit go round. This is a cast of amazing individuals. Agreed. She says, this is not the Frenchie show. And she says, if Frenchie's on the block on Thursday, she's going to be casting her vote to evict him. Yes. And Xavier agrees. Hell yeah. So then Tiffany brings up an important point here. She says Ozza and Big D are still drinking that Frenchie Kool-Aid. Now remember, they're all part of the Cookout Alliance, but Tiffany says Ozza and Big D, they are still Team Frenchie right now, and that is for sure. It's like they're brainwashed. And Tiffany says she feels like she can't say what she really thinks to them. You know, when they bring these crazy plans to her, she's just like, yep, mm-hmm. And Xavier's like, yeah, you can always come and vent to me because I know you don't want to like say too much to them at this point. So then Tiffany asks him, how do you feel about this Kings, Queens, and Derek X alliance? How do you feel about working with them? And Xavier says he likes it. He doesn't really expand on that too much. He's just like, yeah, I'm in, sure. So they hug and wrap up their conversation. And that is that. All right. So then Whitney and Frenchie had a long one-on-one chat in the yacht club bedroom. It was long and it was exhausting. But here are the main points. Here's the crux of this conversation. Frenchie starts out by telling the cameras, you guys can turn away because this is not game related. So then Frenchie says, I'm feeling like a real big asshole. And it's bothering me inside. It's been bothering me for like a day or two, whatever. Ever since things like really blew up for him. And he says, I've done things in this house that I would never do on the outside. I've like compromised my morals. I've had to like lie to people or whatever. So Whitney's asking for specific examples. She's like, tell me what you did. So Frenchie's like, well, I heard that 5 people threw me under the bus. It was more than that. He says, Whitney, Christian, Brent, Xavier, Hannah, I heard all you guys threw me under the bus and that really hurt me. And I took that personally. So Whitney says, I didn't say anything against you until yesterday, after I heard that you were saying stuff about me. So they go over the incident where Whitney was talking about this the other day in her one-on-one with Kyland. She says, Frenchie came into the room, pointed at her in front of people outside of their alliance and said, he's out of the alliance. He's done with it. And she says, that was really messed up because I thought we were super tight. You were like the person that I was the closest to in the house. And then you did that. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. And Frenchie's like, yeah, I mean, I took it out on you the most because I liked you the most out of everybody. And then he ends up saying, I don't think you actually did anything. It was just a feeling I had. Oh my God. So this does not go over well with Whitney. So she's like, okay, you're trying to blow up my game based off of a feeling? Like you didn't even hear that I was doing anything. It was just a feeling. So Whitney said multiple times that she would like for him to talk to the rest of her team and tell them that she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything shady. Just tell them that you were spreading rumors based on a feeling you had. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to talk to your team. Don't worry about it. But by the end of this conversation, they're saying they've got nothing but love for each other. Whitney is saying, I want you to enjoy your last few days here. So she's basically telling him, like, you're out of here. You're done. But anyway, she's like, yeah, we're going to have fun the last few days you're here, but I might not hang out with you as much as before because I'm still, like, really hurt by what happened. And she tells him to learn to communicate. Oh, all right. So then just a few minutes later, after that conversation wrapped up, Frenchie was talking to Big D, and Frenchie says, I'm about to go ask if I can leave. I want to go home. Here we go. So Big D is like, no, Frenchie, no. That's not how you go out. Can you stop, please? And Frenchie's like, no, I'm fine with it. Like, I want to go. I don't want to take the chance of having to stay in a hotel room for 4 weeks. I can't do that. So he's referring to, like, having to still be sequestered just in case there's a battle back competition, which there's not, because there was a picture online of Travis in the airport going home. So there's not a pre-jury battle back. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a jury battle back, but not pre. So anyway, Frenchie's saying he wants to go home, and he just wanted to let Big D know because he loves him to death. He respects the shit out of him. I guess he doesn't respect the shit out of this game, though. He's being a real sore loser right now, and this is the perfect time to insert the Victoria BB Can 9 clip of her telling Tara, like, you signed up for this! You signed up for 90 days! I love that clip so much. But anyway, Big D is telling him to sleep on it, and Frenchie's like, no, I'm ready. I just want to pack my stuff and go. Such a sore loser. It's a classic. I'm going to quit before you can fire me. So the feed's cut for a little while after that. Guess what? Spoiler alert. He didn't leave. He's looking for attention. So the rest of the night was pretty chill. Brittany ended up having a chat with Lil D and Kyland, and they let her know nominations are staying the same. You're still going to be up on the block. However, they did tell her she's going to be staying this week. They're under the impression that the vote is going to be unanimous for Frenchie to go. She's got nothing to worry about sitting up there. So Brittany, I think, feels a bit better now. But she let Lil D and Kylan know she would not be putting them up next week if she wins HOH. She wants to work with them moving forward. I feel like she's legit about this because then she went and told, I believe it was Azza after this conversation. She was like, yeah, I told them they're safe, and like I'm going to stick to that. Like I stick to my word. So we'll see. But anyway, yeah, seems like Brittany's in a good spot right now. We've got the Power Veto ceremony tomorrow. So Sunday is usually a pretty chill day. You know, the house guests usually get to hang out in the backyard, and there's usually some campaigning, some like, are you going to use the veto? But I feel like it's so set right now. I don't know how much of that there will actually be. But hi.
Oh, hi.
It's going to be interesting to see if there's any campaigning today, not just for the veto, but like for the vote too. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be, we'll see what happens. Whenever I feel like it's going to be a chill day, something insane happens. So
Pop off.
we'll see. But I also wouldn't be surprised if people started to kind of try and rebuild their numbers now that the slaughterhouse is blown up. We'll see. But I want to thank you all so much for being here. And I want to thank our super chatters for the support. So we've got Gail Murphy Comedy. Thank you so much. Catherine Cruz. Thank you so much. Josh D. Thank you so much. And he has a question. Based on this season and last season of Canada, who's better? Canada versus USA?
Bowie says USA.
Bowie? That's a good question that comes up a lot. Do you mean like overall, like what show is better or like which cast is better? I feel like...
I think they mean the casting.
Okay. I feel like if this season had not started yet, I'd say BB Can for sure because their last season freaking brought it. They are usually way more innovative with their twists. I will say I think they have too many usually. Hi! But there's always just something so so much more official about BBUS. I don't know if it's just because it's been on longer and it's like more established and it's American TV. I don't know. But I love both of them for their own reasons.
May I weigh in for a minute?
Yeah.
I would say they were both excellent casting.
Yeah, well, yeah, go ahead.
But USA gets the most improved award because Canada had always been better than the USA in terms of casting.
I will say they really stepped up with the cast this season for the US too to match Canada. I'm digging this cast so far. So yeah, thank you for your question. Jason, thanks so much for the super chat. T Lights, thank you so much for the super chat. And Jefferson Tucker, as always, thank you so much for the super chat. Okay, guys. So I gotta get going. Granny is waiting. But I will see you guys later. We'll both see you later for the episode recap. So make sure you guys check that out. And if you're interested in pre-ordering our cookbook, the link is in the info box below.
Comes in a Kindle too.
Yeah, the Kindle version is available now. So if you got a Kindle, check it out. But we'll see you guys next time. And until then, much love.